This kit does not build the car it's claiming to be. This is the confusing case of the Fireball 500 and how and why I built this one the way I have. G'day. The box says the model is from the old Fireball 500 movie, but the car in the movie and the car in this kit are very different. We're talking the George Barris custom car that starred in the 1966 film Fireball 500 and the 125 scale plastic kit from AMT. If you ever decide to build this kit, you've got a decision to make. Either build it as it was in the movie, or build it as the car sits on show today, or build it as per AMT's interpretation, or do something else. And that's what I did. My build is a hybrid, I guess, and therefore mine's technically not a version that ever existed, but it's unmistakably the Fireball 500. According to Wikipedia, George Barris based this car off a 1966 Plymouth Barracuda, and it was built alongside probably what's his most famous creation, the original Batmobile. But why all of those variations? In the movie, the car is painted different to what AMT illustrate on the box. It's got a wide band of gold, and also the decoration on the side is different. The headrest is different. The windscreen is different. And the big one, the cockpit is different. The car in the movie did not have the cabin divided into two sides. It was just open like a conventional convertible. AMT's artwork more closely matches how the car is on show today, with the twin cockpits and the bigger headrest and so on. But there are still differences, such as the colour of the windshields, which they're now tinted orange, and the graphics. I don't know why the kit does not reflect either of the real versions, or why the movie car would have been modified when it got restored. It just doesn't make sense, assuming it's the same car. If you have knowledge around the real car, or cars, and know why the AMT kit matches neither of them, let us all know in the comments. I plan to build this as the movie version of the car, and I don't think it would have been too difficult to remove that centre part of the body and modify the windscreens and the headrest and everything, but for various reasons I didn't have the time. So this model, plus the Days of Thunder build, and there'll be a video about that here soon, they ended up being quite rushed jobs so that they could be included in a club display at the Australian Model Expo. Anyway, it's an AMT kit. I believe this particular one is the 2002 reissue by AMT Ertl. You might notice there's 8 wheels and tyres on the parts bench, and that's because the kit includes a trailer. More on that later. It's moulded in light grey, plus a plated sprue and some clear parts, and I thought it was a remarkably clean moulding considering the age of the tooling. There was very little flash, just the usual parting lines. All the parts were then washed in hot soapy water to ensure there were no greasy spots that could interfere with the paint job. To prevent the possibility of light shining through the plastic, I sprayed the inside of the body parts with a black primer. The masking tape is just there so that the overspray doesn't get on the edges or on the outside. The body then got a coat of Tamiya grey primer, a light sand, and then white primer, and that was just so that there was a white base to keep the vibrancy of the upcoming body colours. SMS Pearl White Snow was sprayed over the front half of the model. Now, I've had no experience with pearl paint, so I used a bit of sprue off-cut to test how the gold and the red would go over the pearl white, and also how the clear would go over all of them, and as it turns out, went over them quite well. So with the paint compatibility confirmed, the bonnet was fixed in place and the airbrush loaded up with some gold and carefully, bit by bit, built up the gold band across the body and also that fade effect. And I used Tamiya gold because I've had success with it in the past and it gives really great coverage without having to use very much paint. The red on the back half of the model is Pearl Raspberry Red, also from SMS. It's not really a fantastic match to the images I found online, but it was the closest red I had to do. In retrospect, I was a little bit conservative on the gradient fade. I should have extended both the gold and the red sections a little further forward on the body, but I'd managed to get a reasonably straight line and the effect was coming up quite good, so I didn't want to risk messing that up. The side decoration was applied, and after that had dried for a day, I put a couple of quick coats of clear over it. I had to do a little light sanding after the first coat because there was some debris got into the paint, but other than that, there's no extra sanding or polishing. This is how it came out of the gun. The upper cockpit surrounds are in black, so these were masked off and sprayed semi-gloss black. The two cutouts in the bonnet are not actually cutouts on the model, they're just a recess, and I've just brush painted some black in there before the plated parts are glued in place. A dark wash was applied to the 8 inlets to dull them down and also bring out the mesh detail. I don't know if these inlets were functional on the movie car, but certainly on the model they have no connection to the engine. The engine's just got a standard carburetor on it. The chrome grille, the slats were not uniform, some of them were buckled and touching, so I've just sort of pushed and shoved them around to try and flex them and improve the alignment. Like several things with this model, there are no dedicated fixation points to attach it to the car, so I had to use some tweezers that were weighted down to hold it in place until the glue had set. For the chassis parts, they're all done in a black surfacer. I did mask off the underside to spray the drivetrain in a different black, but that was more just to test the effect for future builds than to enhance this particular one. And while the model does lack a lot of detail, some of the moulding in the chassis and the firewall gives ample opportunity to pick out the wiring looms and the brake lines and so on. I didn't bother because by now I'd decided that this was going to be a curbside model and the bonnet was going to be glued shut. But despite that, I did build and paint the engine. Friends in the local model club had told me some bad stories about AMT kits, and the engine in particular lived up to those stories. The fit of the parts was really bad, and there's a massive cutout in the engine block to accommodate the kit's front axle. The exhaust extractors were missing from the kit. There were blobs on parts that had to be cut off, and there were shiny chrome parts everywhere. To be fair, the plating in the kit was actually pretty good, and it was also easy to scrape off the parts where you had to expose the plastic for the cement to hold. The battery glues to one side of the radiator panel and the headlights to the other. The headlights had location pins to fit them in the correct position, but the battery didn't, and that would be a problem. Onto the wheels and tyres and more inaccuracies. The movie car clearly rolls on Firestone, but the kit has got Goodyear branded tyres. You can also see in the movie the car appears to have drum brakes that are painted red, but the kit does not include any of that. So I measured up and cut some circles out of evergreen stock so they'd fit behind the spokes of each wheel to sort of simulate the face of the drums. The rims are two-piece, so they can be cemented together once the plating is scraped off. My scratch-built brake drums were then painted flat red and then given some dark wash, and once the wheels were all assembled, I think they look far more like what's in the movie. I was impressed with the interior tub and the multiple textures that AMT have included in the various surfaces. I usually build race cars which don't have interiors like this, so it was a bit of a novelty for me. Again, SMS black surfacer, then masking to spray the seat vinyl in semi-gloss black. The dashboard is one piece, also in semi-gloss black. The silver is bare metal foil that was applied over the top, burnished down around the gauges and the detail, and then the excess was carefully cut away. With the steering wheel and the shifter added, this looked surprisingly good, though in retrospect, the centre console should have also been foiled, and the rim of the steering wheel in the movie was brown, not black like the instructions say. This interior tub had to be weighted to get it to seat against the body while the glue dried. There were lots of significant gaps between the tub and the body, so I used crystal clear to fill those, and I had to use a lot of it. Also, the external side exhausts have been fitted here, and they just pop into holes in the body, but I did have to drill a couple of those holes a bit bigger. With the engine crudely glued to the chassis and the body come together, but I couldn't get them to fit, and it was that battery was in the way of the front wheel. So I just hacked it off, patched the scar up with some black paint, and then the two assemblies come together. But again, I had to weight this down so that the chassis did not keep popping back up and going out of place. The model uses 2 metal axles, so it rolls on its wheels like a toy, and I did have to enlarge the holes in the back of each wheel so that the axles could push in. Next fix was the clear plastic for the windshields. Now, firstly, these two parts are not the same. There is a specific left and right piece, and the instructions do not tell you that. Secondly, there are raised mounting posts along the bottom edge to fit in the holes in the body, plus these small raised circular nubs from the manufacturing process. Now these nubs raise the windshield off the model, so I ground them all off, which resulted in a much better fit. If I'd planned ahead properly, I'd have filled the holes in the body before painting, and if this was to be an accurate representation of the movie car, the windshields themselves would also be cut shorter because they're not full length in the movie version. The kit includes 4 plastic wheels and tyres plus a trailer to replicate what's in the movie. But it's not accurate. The wheels are incorrect and the design of the trailer is different. So I suspect that this is just a generic trailer AMT have used in other kits, but I don't really know. I didn't build the trailer, but I have kept the parts. So if I ever find a suitable model of Richard Petty's number 43 Plymouth, I could complete this scene from the movie. I was forced to rush the last half of this build, and as you all know, that's not the way to build a good model. It was poor planning on my part, plus work commitments, family commitments, a commission build that's on the go. It just meant I had to cut corners to have it ready for our club's expo display. Despite that, I hope the video can help anyone who might be wanting to build one of these things. And if you've made it all the way to here, there are links to other Fireball 500 related videos in the description. Go check them out. Cheers.